some peace of mind. But TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat. And someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line. And Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. I'm just sitting here scrolling, my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Hey guys, it's Mo, and we've got some imminent Newsy News nuggets. And apparently there is a massive volcano eruption that is imminent amid earthquake surge, leaving major U.S. cities on high alert. So let's see what's going on. Is Yellowstone going to happen? I seem to be, detailing the Walmart rapture. I don't know. I'm just saying we got asteroids, we got, volcanoes possibly, who knows? Again, don't go all crazy and buy all the toilet paper and, start shoveling out your bunker. While this is, this is more probability based than they know for sure, because no one knows for sure with Mother Nature, just like I never know what my mood is going to be. So, take it with, these are Scientologists, but, don't live your life in fear. Is it going to blow or blow over? Now, seismic activity levels on Alaska's Mount Spur have soared to March levels earlier this week, sparking a fear that an eruption could be on the horizon. Quote, earthquake activity beneath Mount Spur remains elevated, the Alaska Volcano Observatory, or AVO, warned in a May 28th report. Following a steady decline from late March through April, shallow earthquake activity has increased in the past 2 weeks to March levels of about 100 events per week. Now, I don't know what that means from a jar of sandwich, dressing, so let's figure this out. Now, while the advisory assured that, quote, the likelihood of eruption continues to gradually decline, the 11,000-foot volcano remains at an elevated state of unrest, meaning that an explosive eruption is still possible. We're not out of the woods yet by any means, said Matt Haney, a researcher with the Alaska Volcano Observatory, in a statement to Alaska Public Media. There are still earthquakes happening at Mount Spur. However, an AVO report on May 29th followed that while low-level unrest continues, no changes have been observed in the monitoring data to indicate that a volcano is, moving closer to eruption. Well, way to, pad your front line. I thought we were going to totally learn about, this volcano exploderating, but way to, yank me right back out. Now, if an eruption occurred, it would generally be preceded by additional signals allowing warning, the AVO did say. So they are still monitoring, so hopefully it's going to be, all right, but we will see. Now, if an eruption were to occur, it would likely send a spout of ash shooting as high as 50,000 feet into the air. Haney previously told the Daily Mail, adding that the resultant cloud could cover the neighboring city of Anchorage. Now, Spur has been on officials' radar since April 2024, when they observed a spike in the seismic activity. I guess they're always monitoring it, which I guess you should as a volcano. I never really thought that there would be, someone's job just watching volcanoes. But when I think about, it makes sense. I don't often think of volcanoes through the day. I know you're shocked. By October, the rate of tremors had soared from 30 per week to 125 a week. Now, the recent return to those levels has raised alarm bells. Meanwhile, a gas measurement probe from May 23rd found that emissions were slightly lower, but within the uncertainty bounds of those measured during the last gas analysis on April 24th. They wrote that CO2 values from the volcano's vents remain at above background level, which could indicate the presence of magma beneath the surface. However, they also noted that these levels were similar to readings in 2004 and 2006, a similar period of, seismic activity, and spur didn't, explode at that point, or erupt. I guess you should call it, erupt and not explodorate. But explodorate is a funner word. Now, Alaskans most likely won't need to batten down the hatches just yet. A pause in deformation suggests that a shallow intrusion of magma over the past 17 months has stalled, according to the agency. Now, this intrusion of magma could still lead to an eruption, but gas and earthquake activity do not clearly indicate an unstable or pressurizing system. So basically, there's been a little tiny crack of maybe a little smidge of lava coming in, but they don't see it growing. They don't see it getting to a point where it would explode. Not a volcanologist, although I will say volcanologist because that sounds fun, but I do know the real word. But it does seem like, the headline's really fun, right? Exploding volcano. But as you read the article, it does come down to it's a probability. So be mindful of that when you see these crazy, like, ka headlines. You're like, oh, the world's going to end in 3 days, or meteors. Generally, when you get it into the body of the article, it's not as sensational as they make it sound. Yes, the probability is higher than it would be if the volcano was completely at rest and there was no seismic activity, but it's not, buy your toilet paper now, get your go bag kind of thing. A spur eruption, the ABO said, would likely be nearly identical to the eruptions that happened in 1953 and 1992, which involved explosive events that lasted several hours and produced ash clouds that traveled hundreds of miles and rained ash across south central Alaska. The latter year's explosion notably blanketed Anchorage with ash, causing officials to shutter the airport. And volcanic ash is very, very detrimental to the engines of the airplanes. It gets gunked in, but it's also basically like glass shards. I mean, these are little tiny particles of silica. True Mo confessions. I may watch a heck of a lot of Mayday air disasters, and there was a specific one about flying through an ash cloud. It's not like I'm an expertologist. I watched a TV program, but I did learn that, the experts say that it's detrimental. So that's why they would ground planes. One in Europe, when the Icelandic volcano erupted and there was all that ash in the air, that's why the planes were grounded, because it is very hard on the engines. It could lead to a lot of different problems. And no one wants their engines to go out, when they're flying. So they decided to be safe. Now, a possible spur eruption, which would likely originate from its side vent called Crater Peak, would also maybe cause mudslides and avalanches of volcanic debris and ash to roar down the mountain at 200 miles per hour. Now, fortunately, there are not any communities in the radius that would be affected. It is kind of a blessing that this is more of a cold area, because volcanic soil is incredibly, incredibly fertile. And that's what you see in Italy and a lot of other areas where volcanoes, are. It's just incredibly rich soil from the volcanic ash and different things. And there's a lot of communities and, cities and just civilizations that tend to kind of cluster around these volcanoes. And since they don't erupt, within human generations, after a couple generations, it's just a mountain. So communities before there was seismology were, caught off guard, like Pompeii and Herculaneum. But I'm getting a little too nerdy and I do want to get some lunch. So I am going to talk at you later. But remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. Bye, my lovelies.